hands, while Inara tries to keep the peace. He explains the flowers are all gone, and the next bloom won't happen for another 30 years. Layla asks if there's any other way, and Tyen suggests he might be able to help the tree. The elves instantly draw their weapons in anger. Dassos orders them to lower their blades, while the elves accuse them of trying to plunder the tree, and the dragon warns Tyen to watch his words carefully. Tay apologizes, but explains that without this flower, he'll be helpless to save his own dying world. Beldor questions his hero status, but Layla pleads with him to find any other possible solution. You and I saw that right. Turns out Layla's beauty is the only thing that's actually keeping them safe right now. They go to meet the Great Elder. The old man says the flowers were eaten long ago, questioning how Tyen expects to find a bloom that appeared over a full 1,000 years ago in the past. He tells them to just hang out for 30 years and maybe they'll see the next bloom. Tien is frustrated while Nara reminds him they only have a 1-week deadline to finish this. The old man reminisces about drinking tea made from the petals 700 years ago, claiming he can still clearly taste it today. He describes it as a divine flavor, like he'd been personally blessed by the very forest of vitality. He mocks the humans for being envious of such a fresh flower that they'll never get to see. Yun doubts this guy's wisdom, and Thionel warns them not to even think about touching the tree. The elder mentions his staff is a branch of the world tree, and they aren't the chosen ones. He tells Tay to take a good look and come back in 30 years if he's still alive. Beldor praises the elder's harsh teaching style, though Dassos isn't exactly impressed by any of it. The old man asks if Tyen is impressed, but Tayin just snatches the staff right out of his hand. Everyone panics as he steals the staff, but Tayin just calmly activates his legendary lightning growth skill right now. Trust me, you and I definitely want to see what happens next. Alright, stick with me because you and I are diving right back into one of the most cheerful and lighthearted power fantasies out there right now. Muriel is confused, but Tyen explains the tree only blooms every 1,000 years with special flowers at the top. The elves are absolutely ecstatic, praising the legendary hero for finally saving their entire race from destruction. Tyen jokes that while skipping 6,000 years as big 1,000 is basically nothing special. Muriel falls to the ground stunned by this truly legendary display of power. After witnessing that miracle, Tyen announces they finally secured the World Tree Seed and wonders how the Demon King's team is currently doing over on their side. On the other side, Kim Ilgen obliterates a demon with a charge. Even the fourth Heavenly King, Bertilinel, is shocked that someone like him could lose like that. Kim Ilgen is disappointed that the Gatekeeper was such a total pushover. Tyen thinks Kim Il-jin looks super cool, and the big guy is clearly loving the compliment. The girls watch silently until Tyen cheers because the gate is finally opening up. Yakum notes that even someone like Barat Linnell, a 10 Dragon Slayer, was taken down in seconds. Yakum is definitely impressed, but since he is the weakest Heavenly King, Tyen just cuts him off, saying he totally understands the demon's struggle and plight. Yakum finds this amusing, but he quickly realizes he cannot maintain any confidence while facing someone like Tyen. Tyen jokes that the guy's only baring his teeth to hide how scared he really is. Cheonma powers up for a fun fight, but Tyen warns him not to invite death so casually, because that is basically asking for a one-way trip to the grave. Yakum snaps because they are ignoring him, then activates the dark power in his hand. Cheonma strikes back, instantly leaving only a demonic arm behind, while telling the demon not to provoke him. Entering the castle, Tyen complains about the dark lighting and asks if the next Heavenly King is ready to fight. Now watch this, that sound was absolutely deafening. A woman in chains appears calling Tyen her brother, and telling him that while he made it to the castle, this is officially his limit. She introduces herself as the Scythe of Chains, but gets hit on the head by Cheonma. She gets defeated instantly, leaving the girl to wonder why everyone is so boring. It feels like she might actually die of boredom. A total existential crisis over finding such trivial life forms that were created by the constellations. Our hero thinks only cosmic beings can challenge them now, but a mysterious voice laughs at the idea. Tyen is shocked to see the defeated woman and the other celestial kings rise back up as zombies. Valletta reveals his ultimate power as the strongest celestial king, a massive zombie army. He orders them to kneel, but our hero realizes this is just a trick. They keep reviving no matter what. So Tyen decides to activate his simultaneous conjuration ability right then and there. Dimensional exile portals open up, trapping Valletta and the rest of the undead kings. Valletta screams that it is not fair while Tyen closes the portals, hoping they finally find peace. Now he wonders if they can finally reach the lava ocean. The team confirms that was exactly the plan. They keep walking through the castle, but our hero starts to wonder if they might have missed the underground cave. He wonders if they should finish the Demon Lord quickly, but Yudu Rainey stops them just as a command rings out to kneel. You saw that right, they actually knelt. Stick with me as we find out exactly why they are all bowing like this. The Demon Lord replies that it is obvious since this is his castle. He is the constellation of war Zeta Ishoros. Flashback to Dasos explaining the nature of the 4 heavenly kings. Tyen hates spoilers while Kim Il-jin is just baffled by how weird the hero is. The dragon warns that the Demon King is on another level of strength. For thousands of years, every hero who challenged him has failed miserably. Despite his power, he strangely never chooses to attack the human realm personally. Tyen is unfazed, saying he will just find a way to deal with it somehow. Back in the present, Tyen is kneeling and asks Yudu Rainey how she knows this guy. She explains he is the strongest constellation who ended the ancient wars using pure combat power alone and secured a permanent position among the 12. And that is where we leave it. You and I will definitely want to see what happens next time. Alright, stick with me as the protagonist asks why this guy is Demon King Zeta just loves war. But the Constellation Council laid down the law so he can't actually jump into the battles himself anymore. So he built a planet where everyone is constantly fighting. Watching his own creations go at it pure bliss for him. Plus, for all those life forms that actually survive his brutal trials, he harvests negentropy from them, which is way more powerful than any other dimension. That's why he became the Demon King. Tyen couldn't believe this guy would treat lives like toys. He stood up, ready to take him down right then and there. Zeta just shrugged it off. Since they cleared Hujakaruna's test ascension level, 2 was finally unlocked for the group. Our main character activated his Divine Verdict skill, making Udini scream that things were getting way too intense. Dozens of angels charged toward Zeta, but he effortlessly shifted his weapon into a massive solid shield. He blocked the hits perfectly while Zeta wondered if this was really the strongest light attribute skill they had. It was impressive enough to wreck the surrounding area, but then he ordered his weapon to become a halberd. He was finally ready for a fight with the legendary hero. Now pay attention, he heard a human could wipe out a constellation, and seeing that hero right there, he was definitely intrigued. He wanted to see it himself, but Udor Rainey told him to chill, because they were still finishing a cooking test. Zeta claimed he wasn't going to interfere, pointing out that they were the ones who broke into his castle first. But Udarini actually reminded him of something. See, Zeta remembered Omosiroi gathering all the constellations because everyone was suddenly super interested in the newest awakened human on the scene. They all wanted to test him and grab the best negentropy for themselves before anyone else could. The problem was, if every constellation attacked at once, the human race would be wiped out in 5 seconds. So they decided to take turns based on who spoke up first to keep things fair for everyone. He asked if anyone objected. Everyone feared Omosiroi, so Zeta's turn got pushed way back to number 389 in the queue. Udo Reni explained they were just looking for ingredients, and Zeta told them he could manifest literally anything they needed. The 2 locked eyes, and when Tyen asked for lava sea thorns, Zeta just wanted to know the quantity. Tyen asked for as many as he could get, and the constellation was happy to oblige. Zeta instantly spawned dozens of lava sea thorns, asking the group if there was anything else on their list. Next, Tyen asked for dragon eggs and paradise rabbits, which Zeta promptly manifested right in front of them. Tyen couldn't believe this cheat code, but Zeta told them to finish their tests so they could finally fight properly. The main character thought about it for a bit, then agreed with a massive mischievous grin on his face. I know what you're thinking, and yeah, even Kim Il-jin thought the Demon King was being surprisingly nice here. Zeta told him to stay alive, while Tyen told him to just wait. Soon they were back with the elves. He was fuming because he just discovered this delicious food, while the others were crying and eating the flowers too. Layla loved the raw taste, and was dreaming about a cooked version right when the second group finally arrived on the scene. They were shocked to see those items, since Dikaso thought they were supposed to be extinct by now. Tay's clone was stunned that the original got them all at once, wondering where he even found such a rare item. Then the clone gave a friendly greeting to the real Tyen, while Dikasos marveled at all the rare ingredients gathered. He asked if Tyen really beat the Demon Lord, and Thuriel said it was expected from a hero of prophecy. Chayan Ma was moved to tears by the world tree flower, while Layla had fun playing with a rabbit. The elves started lifting Tyen up into the air, cheering for him as their legendary hero. Tane wondered if they thought he had actually won already, or if he was just going to do it later. Yoon asked how they should even cook it. Thuriel told Yuna not to look at him because he only knows history and has 0 cooking skills. The girls turned to Yunya, who admitted she had never seen these ingredients. Dikasos suggested finding the best chef in Alconi. He wasn't totally sure, but figured the royal chef could handle any meal imaginable. Udraini agreed, and Tyen thought it was a great idea to head there immediately. Dasos wondered why Tyen was staring at him like that. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. All right, stick with me because you and I are heading to the palace. Down in the village, a father and son spot something huge flying above. Locals thought it was just a myth until someone yelled out that it definitely was not a bird. Picasso's lands right before them, and Tyan reveals it is actually a super dragon. He asks if this is Alyobni, the capital of Echunia. It really does look like a whole other world. Picasso says his job is done and leaves Tyan alone since he has zero interest in meeting the king. He warns Tien to be careful, but stops himself from giving any spoilers Tien will understand soon enough. Tay says thanks and hopes they cross paths again. The dragon says, helping the hero of prophecy was an honor, even for just a bit. Then he adds they probably should not meet again. Our hero asks some locals for a cart, and they just say take whatever. They stroll through the city, while Kim Il-yeon loudly announces that the hero's party has arrived. Layla complains about all the staring, but suddenly the group is stopped in their tracks. Someone calls out demanding they hand over every single thing they own. Now pay attention because our hero knows this is a total cliche, just some bandits picking a fight with the hero's party. The bandits have no clue what they are talking about and demand all their loot right now. An axe-wielding bandit calls Layla beautiful, while another tries his luck with Chaeyeon Ma, but she gives him a look that says death. The hero tells everyone to play nice, but the bandits are confused until Chaeyeon Ma's attack hits. She wipes out the entire gang with total ease. She jokes about just giving up and reincarnating. Meanwhile, the townspeople are shocked that she finished them in one go. It must be the prophecy hero. Everyone starts cheering and glorifying the group as they pass. Tyan decides to release some world tree flowers, and the crowd absolutely loves him for it. Over at the castle, a servant tells the king that a self-proclaimed hero is asking for an audience. The king grabs a chicken leg, calls the whole thing ridiculous, and tells them to go away. But the servant mentions they brought the world's 4 great delicacies. King Tom changes his mind instantly and lets them in. Tay enters the room and politely asks permission. You saw that coming, right? Tom laughs and asks why he is here. Our hero wants the head chef, noticing the king seems pretty evil. Tom drools and says that in exchange, the hero asks how he is supposed to do that since it is kind of a big request. Tom claims he is refusing a royal order and calls the guards while his servant tries to talk sense. He just shouts for silence. The guards step up to protect their king. Tom orders his men to kill the hero and capture all the women. Tay realizes why the streets are full of bandits and starving kids. This kingdom is a complete disaster. He has had enough and calls on the celestial demon, telling her just not to kill anyone. Chaeyeon Ma flashes a smile as the soldiers charge forward. Our hero says they picked the wrong king to serve. Chaeyeon Ma rushes in and totally wrecks everyone instantly. Tom is shocked she handled his elite knights. Our hero apologizes for the mess. Since things went south, he decides to take the throne and puts the crown on Kim Il-yeon. Tom begs for mercy while Kim Il-yeon enjoys being king. Our hero tells him to bring out the chef. King Kim Il-yeon orders his servants to do it now. Tien thinks this whole situation is hopeless. The servant apologizes for the wait and introduces the head chef Sanchez Beck. Tien asks about his look, and Tom claims it is because he is just a lazy son of slaves. Even so, Tom thinks Sanchez is incredibly talented. The servant snitches that the Pig King was exploiting him and forcing him to cook forever. Tom calls him ungrateful. Tay says Tom is absolutely disgusting. Kim Il-yeon agrees and sentences the king to dimensional exile. Tom begs for a minute, but the Pig King gets kicked through a portal while screaming for help. Layla says it has been a wild day, and our hero agrees it was fun. But there is one thing left. So what do you and I take from this humanity's future? Looks pretty exhausted right now. All right, you and I are jumping back in as Chef Sanchez finally snaps out of it, apologizing for oversleeping on the job. Taeyeon tells him to relax, but Sanchez starts panicking, shouting that it will be a total disaster if His Majesty goes hungry. Our main character tells him to chill because that tyrant is history. That little guy right there is the new king of Uchenia. A bit confused, Sanchez asks if they are talking about lunch, but Kim Il-jin just orders him to whip up something legendary. Sanchez's jaw drops the moment he sees those mythical cooking ingredients. The main character shows off the rest of the cart packed with 4 world delicacies, asking if he can make the ultimate universe tier meal. The chef just gulps, totally overwhelmed, and starts sprinting straight toward the kitchen. Yuna throws on her apron with a cheerful wave, while the chef starts speed chopping onions and simmering a soup made of lava sea spines. Yuna starts tearing up over a paradise rabbit leg as they both struggle to crack a giant dragon egg into an absolutely massive frying pan. Now watch this intensity. Even through the heat, they smile at their masterpiece before heading back to the royal hall to announce that dinner is finally served. With total confidence, Sanchez presents an enormous glowing omelet, declaring it the most delicious meal ever created in the history of the world. He explains that he used world tree flower salt as the secret seasoning. He stuffed the rabbit meat and dragon eggs inside, serving it with lava sea spines. Tae-in says the taste is insane, while Lee Nara is actually scared to eat it. Yuna says she tasted it while cooking and it was absolutely divine. They dig in, and the second the fork hits his mouth, our protagonist enters a complete food trance. His soul literally leaves his body, flying across dimensions on a crying emotional journey through the cosmos. His tears transform into a bright blue sky over a field of flowers, making him feel warm as he looks at his hands. He reaches for the sky as a giant goddess statue appears, gently holding his hands and giving him a soft, holy kiss on the forehead. Back in reality, the food is so transcendent that Tae-in starts crying too, sobbing about how unbelievably delicious the meal is. Lee Nara notes that his reaction alone proves the food is legendary. The main character thanks the chef, knowing they are finally ready to take on the trial of Oishi Kunar the right way. Sanchez is just happy to help the heroes who saved his country, wishing them luck on the dangerous test they have to face. After making a comfy bed for the chef, the main character asks if everyone is ready and tells the system they are prepared for the test. The system confirms and begins warping them into the dimension of the gourmet constellation. Tae-in says he is putting all his trust in the cook, and Yuna quickly nods in agreement. Stick with me, things are about to get weird when they land in a place so dark they can't see anything until the protagonist conjures a light. Oishi Kunar appears, saying she is impressed they prepared so quickly. The test was supposed to be simple, but since Omoshiroi gave her a heads up, she decided to change things up. She officially welcomes them to a brand new event, a full-blown interdimensional gourmet cooking competition. As the protagonist blames Omoshiroi for the mess, the goddess asks if they even remember the original rules of the test. They were supposed to gather the ingredients and cook a meal that would satisfy her all on their own. Technically, those rules haven't changed. She summons legendary chefs from every corner of the universe to their stations, each ready to present their own absolute best signature dish to her. The catch is, if our main character's meal isn't the best one there, she won't be satisfied. Lee Nara screams about the unfair rule change, but the protagonist is calm, saying he figured something like this would happen. Besides, they are making the most delicious meal in the universe. Oishi Kunar points out a specific chef she's betting on, and it's Sanchez standing there with all 4 of their legendary ingredients right on top of his head. The whole team is shocked to see their ingredients being used by the competition. Tae-in demands to know what happened to their stuff, while Yuna panics, wondering what they can possibly do now. Meanwhile, a fish-like chef begins preparing an underwater world cake, a sacred meal his clan only eats on the most important holidays. He explains the secret is serving it with a specific clay bowl right on the side. Oishi Kunar tries it and says it is delicious, but points out the cake wasn't even baked the right way. As punishment, his entire clan is now extinct. She cold-bloodedly tells the next chef to step up and present. So what do you and I take from this? One bad meal and your whole species is gone. All right, you and I are diving into this mess where Sanchez has to apologize because the constellation is being totally unreasonable. Lenara knows those are their supplies, but Sanchez just feels bad for not being able to pay back their kindness yet. He's genuinely sorry that things had to end up like this for everyone. Tae-in tells everyone to stay focused. It's Oishi Kunar pulling the strings here. He shouts at the goddess, telling her that if she steals their ingredients, they're left with absolutely nothing to work with. Oishi Kunar just claims he wasn't prepared. She's feeling generous, so she gives them more time to gather new ingredients. She'll judge the final meals soon, so he better bring his A game. Yuna asks about summoning items, but Oishi Kunar shuts that down. Only hand-gathered ingredients count. Using magic or copying stuff, yeah, that's straight up cheating in her book. Aona thinks this is ridiculous, and N is totally lost on what to do next. She suggests using time reversal, but our main character explains that constellations are immune to space-time distortion. Suddenly, a crazy idea pops into his head. He even thanks the narrator for the inspiration. Now pay attention because he announces he's got a plan. Oishi Kunar just laughs, saying she's ready for the next course. Our hero thinks crushing things with brute force is cool, but overcoming obstacles with a risky gamble. Now that's where the fun is. He has a question for Yud Rainey. Meanwhile, a chef offers Oishi Kunar heated xenon ore, but she's busy deleting every chef who serves her garbage without a second thought. She wonders if a decent meal even exists here. Then she notices Sanchez is finally done. She takes one look and asks if those are supposed to be dragon eggs. Sanchez boldly claims it's the most delicious omelet on earth. The goddess thinks that's some big talk. Sanchez humble brags that he only pulled it off thanks to the hard work of all the heroes. Oishikunara ignores the chatter and brings the fork to her mouth. She smiles, calling it perfect. It really is the best food in the world. Looks like we've got a serious contender for the win. The other chefs are shocked he's still alive. Oishikunara loves how he brought out the natural flavors and demands to know where he found the ingredients. But then Sanchez does the unthinkable and forfeits the competition. This food wasn't made with his own ingredients, and his chef's conscience won't let him move forward like this. Oishikunara asks if he'd rather be erased from existence instead. Taiyin jumps in shouting that those were actually their ingredients she's busy tasting. No matter how good the meal was, they were going to win anyway. Sanchez tries to argue, but the goddess finds the drama absolutely hilarious. As the gourmet constellation, she thinks it's a crime to extinguish a chef with this much raw talent. Let's pause here because only 8 teams out of 100 actually survived her judgment. These survivors are now the true representatives of all humanity. Oishikunara asks what's going on since they haven't even started their stoves yet. Taiyin calmly says they've already cleared the test. The goddess thinks he's just bluffing because he's scared of being erased. Honestly, she finds the whole act pretty disappointing. Taiyin asks if she's really the gourmet constellation. She's taken aback by the sudden question. Taiyin wants to know just how far she'll go for great food. She replies that gourmet cooking is her entire reason for living. Since he's doubting her, she's going to teach him a lesson far more painful than simple extinction. She'll hunt down all of humanity, cook them, and eat them into extinction. Yudraini wonders what this creep is thinking. Taiyin calls out the goddess, noting she hasn't even tasted their food yet. There's one special condition for their meal. She has to give up her godhood and become human. The goddess is like, excuse me. Taiyin confirmed with Yudraini earlier that constellations actually can toss away their divine status. Immortals like her would never understand the true essence of a good meal. To taste their dish, she has to become human and feel what life is really like. That's the secret ingredient. The girls are impressed, and Oishikunara bursts out laughing. She's down to play along with this little game, so he thinks she doesn't understand the heart of eating. Fine. She'll become human for a moment, but the rules don't change. If he tries to attack her while she's vulnerable, she'll count it as cheating and end him instantly. Since the constellation of justice is watching, everything will be fair. She starts laughing as she glows. Taiyin says it's his turn now. She's finally a complete human, and trust me, you and I are about to see something wild. Alright, let's jump right into the moment. Taiyin says she's done and triggers his time reversal skill. Constellations usually shrug off time glitches, but his magic is on another level. Just like that, they're back in a peaceful green field. Oishikunara is totally lost, but Taiyin casually drops that he can hop to any point in history. Even Dasos makes a grand entrance in his dragon form, while Linara wonders if this trip to the past is actually real. Taiyin says he is the prophesied hero and expects Dasos to transform soon, while Oishikunara is just terrified of losing her life. Yodu-Rei steps in to reassure her that everything's going to be just fine. Taiyin promises not to abandon her, but she must prove she's truly willing to do anything for a world-class meal. Oishikunara agrees instantly. As the constellation of gastronomy, she's seen it all, but she's curious to see if a human can actually impress her. Taiyin tells her to put her full trust in him, though he warns she might regret what comes next. Soon enough, she's covered in dirt and rolling on the ground, wondering how her life came to this. Dasos plays drill sergeant while Taiyin tells her to watch her attitude and sing. Yunya jokes that he hasn't even served in the army yet. She's super confused, asking what this workout has to do with cooking and why she's even stuck here. Taiyin asks if she's really sassing a higher being, and she immediately starts regretting her entire existence. She grinds through the exercises all day long until she's a puddle on the floor. Taiyin just asks if she's finally done. Oishikunara warns him that if the meal isn't legendary, he's a dead man. Now pay attention, because Taiyin isn't about to let her off easy just yet. He resets time and starts over. Next, she has to scale the massive world tree using nothing but a rope, while Taiyin tells her to pick every flower she can find. She screams, asking why it has to be her especially, since one slip means certain death. Yodu-Rei keeps it positive, saying they'll definitely catch her if she actually falls. Taiyin tells her to hang on tight, while the others worry, though Kaon-Ma seems perfectly satisfied with the training. Eventually, she snags a flower and hears the elders talking about how incredibly delicious they taste. She's about to take a bite, but Taiyin snatches it away, reminding her they're strictly for the cooking test. She's ready to kill him, but Yodu-Rei reminds her that breaking the trial rules is a huge no-no. Time to hit the kitchen. Over at the Demon King's castle, Zeta is laughing his head off. He laughs that it's a total joke seeing Oishi Kunare in human form. She wonders why the god of war is here, but Tien keeps things very polite. She asks what's happening here. Tien explains those ingredients she swiped actually belong to Zeta. Now they have to finish the test and handle this fool who's itching for a fight. She agrees and tells them to get those ingredients ready for delivery. Zeta conjures up a bunch of rabbits, eggs, and thorns. With the loot secured, Tien says it's finally time to cook. Trust me, you'll want to see this. Time to finish this wild otherworld arc. They teleport away to a new location, leaving a bored Zeta behind. Suddenly, a loud scream echoes through the king's castle. Tien thrashes the guards and realizes he's running into the same annoying guy twice in one day. Tom begs for mercy, but Tien just shrugs and uses dimensional exile to kick him out all over again. He leaves the cleanup to Yunya while Sanchez is just taking a nap back in his private room. Someone tries to wake him, giving him a heads up that the kitchen is officially booked for a while. Back at the castle, Oishi Kunare is starving and grumpy until Yunya arrives with the food. The constellation is finally ready to pass her judgment. She'll judge this human, but first she needs an appropriate outfit. If this meal sucks after all that training, there's going to be hell to pay. Yunya is definitely feeling the pressure. She asks what that meal even is, and Yunya presents her masterpiece. Opening the lid, she reveals the world's most perfect and delicious lasagna. Every ingredient was carefully tested to ensure this lasagna would be an absolute flavor bomb. But Oishi Kunare has tuned everything out. For the first time, she's feeling a wild primal hunger like never before. She realizes the ultimate meal is simply the one that satisfies a hollow stomach, a realization that completely disrupts the cosmic order of the entire universe. She actually starts crying the second she tastes that delicious meal. Sanchez is watching from the sidelines and falls head over heels. Tien just wants to know if it tastes good. She admits her regret, and you and I just witnessed the first time this goddess ever felt this way. Wild, right? It used the same ingredients as her first omelet, but now every single cell in her body was absolutely loving it. This was a true 5-star meal, and she couldn't deny it was the best. Yunya asks about the test, and Oishi Kunare confirms they passed. All right, you and I are watching a massive success. Yunya asks if he knew this would happen from the start. Tay says it was a total gamble, but he thought training everyone else would be way more interesting to see. So he set the stage perfectly. Yunya's confused, but the protagonist says it was only possible because of her help. The food she made back at her house was seriously delicious. Her skills gave him the confidence to believe in her. Yunya blushes, saying he should obviously be more grateful to her. The system chimes in, test cleared. The constellation of gastronomy has finally unlocked stage 3 of his ascension. Kim Il-jin is skeptical, since even he lost his fights while trying to use that specific power. The system tells him to relax while the protagonist begs for the next power-up. Nothing matters more than getting stronger. Now pay attention here, he's done playing games. He won't stop until he can fight those constellations on equal footing. Yun points out that Oishi Kunare licked the plate clean. Oikunar replies that she couldn't let any of the food go to waste. When asked if Oishi Kunare is still hungry, the constellation admits she feels like she could go for another round. Sanchez jumps in asking for permission to make dessert. He's never seen anyone enjoy his cooking quite as much as her. As a professional chef, he's totally committed to making something special just for her. Oishi Kunare says yes, immediately leaving the protagonist wondering what those two are even doing now. Yodu Rainey notes her hard work and asks if she will report to the King of Constellations. Oishi Kunare just looks at Sanchez and blushes. She says no way she's decided to stay in this dimension as a regular human. Yodu Rennie is shocked. The test is over, so she should be heading back to her divine constellation duties. Oishinar says she's abandoned too many worlds and needs to rediscover what cooking really means to her. Justice says this messes with universal balance, but Oishi Kunare's mind is made up. There's no changing it now. Then she approaches Yunya and tells her to take it. It's her personal artifact, the immaculate cutlery. Yunya's unsure about taking it, but Oishi Kunare says it's just a small thanks for the delicious food. You and I both know these artifacts are wild. The protagonist thinks they're interesting, while Yunya wonders how to use them. Yodu Rei thinks about the two fallen constellations and wonders how much change this one human will bring to the universe. She's curious to see just how much this single human can change their entire world. They decide to share the set even if they aren't exactly sure how to use it yet. Chaeyon Ma grabs the fork, and Layla takes the knife. That leaves only the golden spoon for her to hold. Tyen keeps it to get stronger. Meanwhile, Kim Il-jin starts calling Oishi Kunare by the title of Madam. He takes off his crown and warns that if she chooses to stay, she should really become the queen of the country. He respects that even when she was starving after everything she didn't try to eat him. Oshikuna reminds him she has high standards, but thanks him for the gift anyway. Chameleon wonders what just happened as his pride takes a hit. The culinary goddess says leading in this world of war will teach her much. The protagonist notes she probably doesn't know much about this war dimension yet. Aona asks what's next. Tyan replies that the next test is about to begin. After zombies and interdimensional cooking, if the pattern holds, things are about to get even weirder. Linara points out that for every Constellations test, it feels like the genre just keeps changing. He agrees, and wonders how on earth the author manages to switch genres so many times in one story. Yodu Renee says she'll talk to the council so they can finally get back to their normal daily lives. You and I know that won't happen. Shiroi appears and says getting back to normal lives is going to be tough. He waves hello and warns that the next constellation is already waiting to snatch them away. Tien questions his presence while Yodurei tells him to stop. Shiroi explains that a member of the Zodiac is up next, so they'd better move fast. Interdimensional teleportation kicks in and drags the heroes away, leaving Oishi Kunari and Sanchez shocked. Suddenly it starts pouring rain. Where are we? This place is new? Alright, stick with me, because our team just got dumped into a rainy nightmare by a disappearing god. Our hero checks if everyone is okay, but the girls are mostly annoyed about being completely soaked. Taein gets a bad vibe wondering what kind of celestial being would pick this swamp as a home. Chaeyeon Ma senses a murderous intent, far worse than any of the previous constellations they have faced before. A voice from the depths interrupts, saying this test is totally different. She rises from the water, warning them that passing is impossible. Yodu Rei identifies her as the constellation of despair, and our hero can barely believe it. The girl begs her to listen since they cannot take any more tests, but the response is always the same. No matter what they say, she is not changing her mind. The Council of Constellations is forcing these extreme tests on him, pushing him to grow through pure, unadulterated danger. Expecting this much of him is just unfair. She senses his massive latent energy and decides she wants to eat it, slowly sinking him into the swamp. Layla is in shock as Yoon realizes the muck has already reached up to her thighs. The constellation of despair demands they lose their lives and give in to the hopelessness of her trial. But pay attention here because our protagonist is about to blow things wide open. Taein is fed up with these gods trying to kill their own creations, so he triggers stage 3 of Ascension. He admits she had a cool design, but he is done playing nice and prepares to strike her down. He charges his magic, but the constellation of despair blocks the entire blow with just her palm. She warns that such dangerous actions are forbidden in her domain. It is simply not allowed. Our hero realizes her power and speed are top tier, like the elite fighters of the 12 houses. This level of power is way beyond anything the team has ever faced in their previous battles. She is going for the kill without hesitation, but luckily, Taein still has a few tricks left. He activates the Amulet of Wrath and lands a massive berserker punch right against the constellation's guard. She gets blasted back as a massive stellar explosion erupts. Tae brags that in stage 3, he finally has control over that immense, wrathful power. The constellation is shocked, wondering how a mere human could possibly possess such an incredible level of strength. Taein thinks he can actually win this, but just as he charges, Yodu Rei tells him to stop. He tells her to move, joking that if she stays this annoying, her popularity as a character will tank. Yodu Rei insists she is only doing this to protect him and all of humanity. Now you and I both know this is bad. The council actually wants to wipe humans out entirely. Taein stops his attack while the goddess stands back up, declaring that humanity will never escape their extinction. That is her final decision. Suddenly, Yunya notices massive waves rising up behind the constellation. The goddess tells them to drown in her swamp while experiencing the worst suffering they can imagine. Seeing his friends in danger, Taein tries to activate his rank, a defensive barrier skill. But the enemy stops him, telling him to just give up and embrace the despair. Yodu Rei tells everyone to stay calm and listen carefully. She explains the swamp traps you in illusions of your own worst suffering as you sink deeper and deeper. They are going to face pure agony, but she warns them not to lose hope. If they can survive until the end, they will return. The goddess says it is impossible, but Yodu Rei snaps back, believing that humans are actually quite astonishing. Their wisdom and willpower are enough to break the natural order. They are not weak enough to die here as long as they never break. The swamp finally swallows them, and Taein tries to use his personal exclusion skill. Yodu Rei appears and places her hands firmly on his shoulders. She tells him everyone will be safe, but he must face his own despair since she cannot help him. He trusts her to protect their bodies while he fights his inner demons, and trust me, you and I need to see what is next. Alright, you and I are diving into a world where Tien wakes up from a swampy dream, wondering who is calling him back to reality. Kim Il-jin is demanding some bread, but our guy Tien is still trying to catch some much-needed shut-eye. Suddenly, Kim Il-jin slams Tae's face into a table, calling him names. Tae is dazed, hurting, and wondering where on earth he actually is. Meanwhile, Kim Il-jin is getting annoyed, wondering if this idiot is ever going to wake up. Kim Il-jin tells him to hurry up while Tae realizes he is in a classroom. It doesn't look like he traveled back in time at all. Kim Il-jin threatens to give him a real education, making Tien wonder if he is stuck in some nightmare scenario with this bully. As Kim Il-jun barks orders, Tien starts having flashbacks to the days when he was constantly being bullied. Trying to figure out what is going on and what to do, Tien reaches out and grabs Kim Il-jun's hand. He tells him they should go, thinking he is some super strong triple S rank hero. But once they hit the rooftop, Tien gets totally wrecked. Now watch this, because we are all expecting that classic overpowered comeback to happen any second, right? He is waiting for that satisfying moment where his legendary triple S rank powers finally kick in and teach this punk a lesson. Kim Il-jin complains about his bad day, while Tae wonders why he is getting beat up again. He tries activating his rank to freeze, but nothing happens. Kim Il-jin calls him a total loser, and Tae is panicking, because even his weakest skills won't trigger at all. Without his Amulet of Fury or his Ascension unlocked, things are looking grim. Then Kim Il-jin lands a heavy blow to his stomach. Despair is starting to set in. Kim Il-jin mocks him, saying he cannot even clean a pair of shoes the right way. Kim Il-jin threatens him, saying if he does not bring what he wants, before break ends, his life is basically over. Tien knows he should be able to snap his fingers and destroy planets. This might be a fictional world, but the pain feels way too real. He wonders if everyone else is suffering like this too. Kim Il-jin definitely was not this cruel in the world he remembers. Tien slowly pulls himself up from the dirty water. It feels like a living hell of despair as he finally turns around. His instincts as a world-saving hero are still there. He steps forward with a punch, but it does not even faze Kim Il-jin. Terrified Tien lets out a scream as the bully grabs him roughly by his shirt. Tien, bruised and beaten beyond recognition, jokes to himself that Kim Il-jin is asking to be turned back into a hamburger bun. I know what you are thinking. How is our hero going to fix this mess? He can't use skills, so he needs to learn to fight. Teaching himself is not going to work. He needs a master. Then he remembers Jo Yun, a girl with some seriously incredible athletic skills. Even if she will not teach him combat, he could at least train his body to be much stronger. He heads to Yun's class during break, but Tien's nose just won't stop bleeding. Talk about an embarrassing first impression for our hero. That is when Tien spots Kim Il-jin talking to her. The bully's acting all smooth, offering to pay for everything to win her over. Yunya is not having it. She tells him to leave her alone. Kim Il-jin puts a hand on Yunya's shoulder, telling her not to play hard to get. Yunya just pushes him away and tells him to beat it. The punk gets aggressive, asking if she thinks he will just keep being nice to her in the middle of the hallway. Our guy Tien steps up and grabs Kim Il-jin from behind. He tells him to leave, asking who he thinks he is right now. He tells him she is with him. Kim Il-jin asks if moss has started growing inside Tien's brain. Tien's body just moved on its own. He had to intervene. But then Kim Il-jin grabs his arm, calling him an annoying pervert for getting involved. Kim Il-jin says Tien is asking for a trip to hell today. Yunya tries to stop them, but it is too late. Kim Il-jin pulls off a perfect suplex, slamming our poor hero onto the floor. People are comparing Kim Il-jin to a UFC fighter. Yunya is furious, asking if this psycho is actually trying to land in juvie. Kim Il-jin just laughs it off, bragging that his father will cover for him no matter what happens. Tien feels a total wave of despair. He just wants some peace. But then out of nowhere, Yun grabs Kim Il-jun's fist. Kim Il-jin is stunned, wondering what is happening. Yun asks if he is trying to kill Tien and tells him to stop immediately. The bully accuses Yun of defending this loser, assuming there must be some kind of secret romance going on between them. Yun is sick of his nonsense. Kim Il-jin keeps shouting about their relationship and tries to grab Yuna's hand one more time. Eun gives Kim Il-jin a look of pure ice. With one smooth move, she twists her arm and breaks free from his grip. Kim Il-jin hits the deck with his arm twisted, then Yuna starts raining down punches on his face non-stop. Tien watches in awe as Eun beats the bully. Tae thinks it is incredible, but Yun walks over and calls him a pervert. She asks if he is okay, checking his neck. He sits up saying everything's fine, and honestly, you and I just witnessed a legend. Stick with me, you and I are about to see how this high school drama unfolds. Our hero just wants to know if she can fight. Yunya says she watched commando videos as a kid. She trained hard to be a soldier, but warns that a strike to the neck is super dangerous. She asks if he can stand up so they can head over to the infirmary together. He reaches out, but just as they almost touch, Kim Il-jun appears behind her like a total creep. Then Kim Il-jun demands to know what kind of secret relationship these two have. He mocks her, asking if she thinks being a girl makes her safe. Yunya isn't backing down. Now pay attention, because this jerk is about to do something unthinkable. Don't blink, things are about to get really wild. Yunya was ready to strike back, but a student yells that the teacher is coming, stopping the fight. Il-jun stops complaining. He tells our hero that he's going to catch absolute hell after school today. The jerk spits on his hair. Yunya is totally grossed out, calling him a crazy and disgusting bastard. He says he's okay. Even in virtual reality, seeing her get angry for him is actually pretty nice. She helps him up, while Lee Nara watches the whole scene unfold from a distance. The infirmary is empty. Yunya sees he's walking fine and his eyes look sharp, which is good. Since nobody is around, she decides to wait there until the school nurse finally shows up. She starts scrolling on her phone while our main character just lays there on the cot. He asks why she's still here. She says he might faint, plus she's not in the mood for class. Honestly, he thinks her being that blunt is actually kinda cute. He asks about her fighting again, but she shuts him down, saying she's not here for small talk. He thanks her anyway. Now listen closely, because this childhood backstory you and I are about to hear is actually very important for later. When they were little, they were just normal friends playing together. But eventually, the gap between them grew. One day, one of Il-jun's friends intentionally bumped into him. He turned around annoyed and came face to face with his former childhood friend. Il-jun just looked away. In that moment, a distance opened up between them that would never be closed. Before he knew it, our hero was just another loser kid from Il-jun's past. Things kept getting worse until today. Yunya sighs, saying she really doesn't want to hear this anymore. She calls him an idiot for letting it happen. He says there are strong people and weak people. She tells him he's a hopeless fool and that he could change things if he just tried. Tae argues that she only says that because she doesn't understand his situation. His dad's job is involved too. Yunya just calls him a complete idiot again. She asks if his dad would really stay quiet. Why is she wasting time on this guy? That's when he suggests that maybe she should help him in this case. She's confused, but he promises to try if she teaches him how to fight. She smiles. She asks if he's serious because she's actually willing to give him a chance. Suddenly her eyes turn a glowing blue. He feels a wave of pure despair washing over him. Yunya says she wants nothing to do with him as a swamp opens beneath his feet. He won't give up. He has to do something. He breaks through and shouts that he likes her. She's stunned. He repeats it, thinking that since this isn't reality, he might as well go for it. If he can just reach her, he can pull her out of this despair. She screams that everyone is acting crazy today. First Il-jun, now this pervert. She should have let them hit her. As he sinks into the swamp, he yells out about her lasagna, the dish she makes better than anyone. She's shocked and asks how he knows. He says she claimed she wanted to be a soldier, but she actually dreamed of being a chef and baseball player. She asks if he's some kind of stalker, but he denies it with everything. He shouts that he's her future boyfriend, and trust me, you and I just witnessed a total game changer. Alright, you and I are about to watch our hero hit rock bottom until a girl reaches out and literally pulls him back up. She demands a real explanation because back when she was just a little girl, she dreamed of being a chef or a baseball pro. She demands to know how he knows her secrets without hearing some crazy story about coming from the future. Our main character stares at their hands touching while Yunya remembers that he actually liked her. Then slap. She calls him a pervert for holding her hand, but Tyne reminds her that she was the one who grabbed him first. A nurse interrupts their moment, so Yunya explains that he is making up wild stories about being her future boyfriend. It is all just one big weird lie to her. She says they are supposedly warriors fighting aliens from another dimension, and a powerful enemy has trapped him in this virtual world of eternal suffering. Talk about an active imagination. This crazy guy seriously needs to be checked into a mental hospital immediately. Tae insists it is all true, though even he admits it sounds completely ridiculous when he says it out loud. Luckily, Yunya cannot see how he is actually drowning in a swamp of despair, which is pretty convenient for him right now. Either way, she just wants to learn how to fight because she saw the murderous look in Kim Il-jun's eyes earlier. She knows her life is actually on the line. Now pay attention because she's wondering why she's wasting time with this total nutcase. Tae swears everything he said is the truth minus that part about the distant future. He couldn't have known about her sports and cooking dreams otherwise. He promises her right then and there that he will never lie to her again. Yunya starts to believe him. He reminds her that Kim Il-jun was seriously trying to hurt her back there. He won't let that bully mess with her anymore. Hearing that actually makes Yunya blush a little bit. Still, she tells him there is no way he can beat Kim Il-jun in a real fight. The size difference is just too massive, and that bully probably has some real martial arts training under his belt too. Kim Il-jun definitely thinks a small guy like Tae-in couldn't possibly get strong enough to win in just a few hours. Tae-in insists on trying, reminding her that she once said hard work could change destiny. Yunya is surprised he remembers that exact moment from her past so clearly. She sighs and agrees to help, but she still thinks he has zero chance of winning this. Suddenly, she punches him right in the face. Tae-in hits the dirt and asks why she would just attack him like that. She explains she had to strike before the fight even started, creating an opening by aiming for a vital point. No rules in a street fight. They keep practicing until the bell rings. Our hero finally pulls himself up off the floor. Tae-in asks how she even hit him. She explains it was a surprise elbow strike, and that was exactly the point. He was wide open for it. He got hit because he simply didn't expect her to strike so fast. If he had known, he might have tried to dodge. It will be the same with Kim Il-jun. That bully only cares about attacking and won't expect Tae-in to strike back. He needs to stay quiet and act submissive until he sees the perfect moment to counter. Back in the classroom, the teacher tells everyone to focus and pay attention to the group project. Tae-in thinks her training is way more brutal than those mystical training tests. He is totally drained by the time Kim Il-jun calls him out. Watch closely now. Kim Il-jun tells him to follow while Tae-in notices his art style is actually getting more intense. He stands up and agrees, deciding to stick strictly to the secret plan Yunya helped him create earlier. Kim Il-jun calls him a perverted loser. He warns Tae-in that anything that happens next is going to be his own fault. He tells him not to complain later, but Tae-in kicks him right in a vital spot before the guy even gets his shirt off. Kim Il-jun goes into total shock and starts crying. The opening was there, he hit the target, and it worked exactly like Yunya said it would. The bully is thrashing on the ground in absolute agony. Kim Il-jun screams that he's a maniac and swears he's going to kill him for that cheap shot. Tae-in wonders if that was a bit cowardly since he doesn't actually know how to fight properly yet. He worries that hitting vital points is dirty, but Yunya reminds him he was getting bullied by a friend. Being tormented by someone bigger while you just take it, that is the real definition of being a coward, not fighting back. This realization hits him hard. Back in reality, Kim Il-jun is still howling in pain. The bully keeps threatening him, but Tae-in realizes that while violence is never the answer, he won't let himself be a victim anymore. He is done making excuses for this guy. No matter how real this feels, it is just a virtual world. Kim Il-jun is just a fake character designed to make him feel angry and afraid. And that's where we leave it. Our hero finally lands a solid punch while Yunya watches in total disbelief. Wild, right? Alright, you and I are watching the main character finally tell Kim Il-jun to back off for good. The girl turns bright red but immediately hides herself again. Yunya thinks the despair is finally over, but then Kim Il-jun grabs the main character's hand and aggressively twists his wrist to change positions. Yunya calls him an idiot, while Il-jun threatens to end his life right before getting punched in the face. The main character fights back with total ease. Yunya thinks Il-jun is a total moron for trying to attack from such a weak, submissive position. He realizes this is exactly what Yunya taught him during that time she pinned him down. He tells her it's a bit much, but then gets punched in the face. Yunya keeps hitting him while he tries to speak. She tells him to stop talking and focus on escaping so he can take the dominant position instead. He mentions how she plants her foot and pulls her body up while the girl hits him one more time. She asks if he's still struggling because getting caught like that is a guaranteed loss. She explains that losing that position usually means game over, but taking it for yourself is a sure path to an easy victory every time. This Il-jun guy doesn't even understand the basics of knockouts. She says if he takes the position, he should keep his center of gravity at the waist so they can't lock the arm movements and finish things off properly. Watch closely now. He applies the lesson, perfectly reminding Il-jun he messed with the wrong guy. The bully's completely out. The despair starts fading away and Yun admits she didn't expect him to actually knock the guy out just like that. It was actually pretty good. Maybe he's a natural-born fighter after all. He confirms it's all thanks to having such a great teacher, which makes the girl laugh and call him a total idiot for saying that. Tae realizes it's the very first time he's ever seen her smile like that. He questions how she got so good at fighting because even military training wouldn't really make sense for her skills. She says it's not normal her father knows someone in the special forces and that's how she got her training. He thinks she is like a legendary, militarily trained high schooler who has mastered boxing, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, karate, and all sorts of other martial arts. Tien figured that after beating Iljun, this whole despair test would finally be over. He wonders why he's still stuck here just as a tattooed guy asks why Iljun was knocked out. You and I saw that coming. A whole squad of delinquents just showed up to defend their buddy. Yunya asks who they are, and Tae explains they are the notorious barroom group led by Park Kangoo. There is Gale named for his huge head, then Yuki the whirlwind who burps a lot, and finally got Tae Wong here. Then there is the Typhoon who is just massive, and Zeroth the Storm, an expelled idol trainee who still insists on using that old stage name. Yunya calls it childish, but Tien warns her that these guys are not your average school delinquents. Iljun's father leads the Sunpong group, a shady company that originally started out working with violent gangs. The second-generation kids gathered around Iljun and started causing all kinds of trouble, just like a real gang. Zeroth asks if they're calling them thugs a word for idiots and gangsters. While Yuki questions the name, Zeroth claims they are all just good friends. But he walks up and grabs the protagonist's shoulder, wanting to know if he's the one who hurt Iljun. The memory hits hard. If he messes with them, his father could be in danger too, and the fear feels real. Zeroth says he's clearly not a friend, and Tae realizes he can't stop shaking even in this fake world. Yoon tells him to stop. The idol asks if she is his girlfriend, but suddenly a completely different and very dark atmosphere takes over the entire space and room around them. Yunya gets a totally dark expression while we see a flashback of Tae laughing at a webtoon about fusion and having fun. A friend of hers called out and joked that her boyfriend was passing by her right then. Yunya got annoyed immediately, telling her friend not to say things like that even as a joke. And now Zeroth just made the same mistake. He apologizes but asks if she actually has a boyfriend now. Taiwan calls him a womanizer, and Yuki mentions he was kicked out of his agency because of women. She tells him to scram while she's being nice. Trust me, this ends badly. Alright, you and I are about to watch Zeroth challenge him while the girl prepares for a fight. Tien cut in, explaining that Ilyan started it with the first punch. That is how it all went down. Zeroth doubted him and instantly struck the hero. Yuna was shocked it was too fast for her to react. Zeroth warned that our main character was in for a serious beating. Yuna stepped up for combat, while the idol wondered who she was. He claimed he did not hit girls, but his friends. They were built differently. All three of them geared up to take on the girl. The hero stepped forward, calling out to his friend. He told her to get out, but Yuna was confused until he repeated it again. She wanted to know if learning a few moves made him arrogant. Did he think he could handle this alone? Tae snapped that she was not even his friend. Heartbroken and angry, Yuna called him a loser and stormed off. Our hero knew this was for the best. Yuna could probably crush them all alone, but doing that would make her a target for the Sunpong group. This weight was his to bear. Zeroth asked if the couple was done fighting yet. Watch closely now, the hero raises his guard, but that idol hits him with a devastating knee strike. He was knocked cold, and after that, everything went completely dark for him. Now he was sinking into a swamp of despair, yet it felt surprisingly peaceful. He wondered if sinking meant being free from the pain. He started remembering his friends, but then he quickly pushed those thoughts away. He realized he was not the only one sinking in despair. He cursed his fate, begging for just one more chance. Suddenly a light flashed, and he woke up to his father asking if he was back to his senses. The protagonist squinted at the bright light and looked around the room. His father was shocked that he was not recognized. Tae stood up quickly, screaming in fright, while his dad worried about memory loss. Our hero asked if that was really the right thing to say right now. His dad said at least he was alive, which was a relief. He asked why he was stuck there while his mother was crying. Seriously, he kept getting beat up and making both his parents worry. The hero argued that it was not like he wanted to get hit. His father asked if he knew who was responsible. Tae explained that it was not just one guy, but a group. His father began thinking it over, repeating his old lesson that violence never solves anything. Everything would be fine. In his day, everyone grew up fighting, but times were different now. Our hero realized he had worked hard to hide his struggles. Dad felt responsible for leaving him a world that was much more peaceful. Tae wondered what he meant. His father told him to stay in the hospital and recover quickly so he could focus on school. He promised to always stay on his son's side. It was strange, but talking to his father made all the despair disappear. He told him to make sure his mother stopped worrying. And just like that, you and I realized the father is hiding a massive secret from his oblivious son. His phone rang. He wondered why Director Bond was calling, but he just asked what was wrong. Iljun's father wanted to know why he was speaking to him that way. Beyond replied that he had sworn to keep the shadows of Sunpong away from his family while serving as the executive strategy director. As night fell over the city, Yuki asked if he was a pervert for losing to that loser. Iljun shouted that he did not even remember his friend promised not to tell anyone. The young master of Sunpong got crushed. Kang Woo planned a beating until Beyond Tyson appeared, asking if they were the ones responsible. The whole group turned around and Kang Woo asked who this old man was. Suddenly, Il-jun's father appeared, shouting at the brat to find out what on earth he was doing running around like that. Il-jun was confused, but his father told him to shut up and come home immediately. The father of the guy he attacked, he is a total legend. This all started with Chairman Kim, whose success story was famous to the public. But in the past, he was nothing more than a common thug who frequented small bars. The mistakes he made with other gangs remained hidden from the public eye. So what do you and I make of this? It looks like the father's real legend is just beginning. Alright, stick with me. You're about to meet a dad who's way more than he seems. After wiping out every gangster, he recruited them into his businesses. Using his natural genius for business, he expanded rapidly until local bars became high-end restaurants, and his underworld life transformed into Sunpong entertainment and massive heavy industries. He spearheaded South Korea's rapid economic growth, pushing his company to the absolute top. Taeyeon's father was that kind of man. When he firmly turned down the role of Sunpong's chairman, his one condition was a normal life for his family, far away from underground violence or the flashy extravagance of the elite. Once that was guaranteed, he walked away from it all in a deal that seemed insane because for him, family meant everything. A simple life, no power, no fame. When Taeyeon asked about his job as a kid, Dad just said he was a regular office worker. But Il-jun's father warns that he's finally broken this man's ultimate taboo and needs to find somewhere safe to hide. Kang-woo asked if he recognized them, and Taung replied he knew them well. That kid was the eldest son of Young-hoon from Heavy Industries. Then Taung tossed him aside with a single effortless move. Il-jun's father desperately tried calling, but his son was too shocked to answer. Taung just noted that violence usually solves nothing. But here's the thing, you and I know some people only learn their lesson the hard way, like these punks right here. Taeyeon's father easily landed a gut punch, identifying the kid as Yuki, the youngest son of the CEO of Sunpong Hotels and Resorts. He should have inherited his father's talent, but apparently his stomach wasn't feeling quite as strong today. Taewon cursed him while Zeroth tried to play it cool, but the big guy just charged Taewon without any plan. The man simply called out the kid's name while blocking the attack with total ease, leaving Taewon stunned. Then Taeyeon's father asked who he was. Taewon was shocked he didn't know his own father, Go Young-chwan. Taewon realized he was the son of the Sunpong restaurant vice president and had grown quite a bit, but he suggested the kid lose some weight before sending him flying. Zeroth and Il-jun were completely frozen by the scene. Taewon identified Zeroth as the son of the entertainment company's big boss, Nam Jing-yu, and his name was Nam Bong-yu. Zeroth was furious, while Il-jun actually laughed at that name. Tien got annoyed, asking if Il-jun really thought this was a joke. I know what you're thinking, Dad's going a bit overboard, right? Well, he's just getting started with this much-needed education. Zeroth begged for a second questioning if the man could handle the fallout. Taung asked if he'd considered the consequences before hitting Tien. Zeroth tried to apologize for his mistake. But Dad said mistakes require punishment. That's what responsibility is. He stepped forward while the young man let out a terrified scream. Back at the hospital, Taeyeon's mother was peeling apples and handing him slices. Tien thanked her and apologized, but Mom told him to stop because he did nothing wrong. The bullies are the ones who should be sorry. Tien shook his head, promising that he would fight back too. His mother mentioned it was lucky that pretty girl called the police. Tien wondered if Yunya did it, surprised by her sudden loyalty. His mother teased him, saying she was shocked her son had such a beautiful friend. Tien asked if that was really something a mother should say. She said the girl was really worried about him. Tien felt a little happy about that until the hospital door suddenly swung open. His mother welcomed the visitor, offering her some of the freshly cut fruit she'd prepared. Tien was stunned to see Nara, who said he was finally awake. She even asked his mother how she knew apples were her favorite. Tien asked why she was there, and she said she came to check on him, though she noted his attitude was still pretty bad. Tien realized then it wasn't Yunya who had called the police after all. Nara said she had bigger news. Leaning close to his ear, she warned him they had to escape the despair test together. Tien was confused how she knew. Nara explained she escaped her own test to rescue him. When Tien asked how she pulled that off, she admitted she had no idea. By the time she snapped out of it, she was inside the barrier Udorinai created. For some reason, she was the only one who woke up. While the others were trapped in nightmares, Nara could feel a completely different kind of energy flowing inside of him. And trust me, you and I are definitely going to want to see where this beautiful energy leads next. Alright, stick with me because you and I are about to see how our heroes escape this mental trap. Tien admitted he had no clue how to get out yet. Nara was surprised and asked if he had finally beaten his despair since his vibe felt totally different, and he seemed ready to leave. Tien explained he had to escape, save his friends, and keep fighting those annoying constellations. There was no reason to stay. His mother just looked on, totally confused by their talk. Nara told her she must be lost because they were discussing things only they understood. Taeyeon's mother asked if he was going back to war. He tried to play it off. She held his hand, saying he was the most important person to them. As long as he was happy and healthy, nothing else mattered. She made him promise to be honest with his parents if things ever got dangerous in the future. Watch his reaction here. He actually has to stop and think about that for a second. His dad jumped in asking if he was hiding something. Mom wanted to know about that funeral. Taishang claimed it was just an acquaintance while trying to hide the blood on his face. They warned him never to forget they were on his side. The main character was just totally stunned. He sighed, genuinely touched by the sweet words, and told them not to worry because he was humanity's chosen hero. His mother started crying, wondering who hit her son's head so hard that he started acting crazy. Nara agreed, calling her mother-in-law. Tien held her hand, explaining that realizing his parents' love helped him grow. Now that he had reached a new level of strength, they really didn't need to worry. Plus, he had amazing friends by his side. He felt happy and told his parents he loved them too. Mom still worried he had been beaten too badly, but they shared the love and all held hands. A bright light flashed, and suddenly Tien woke up. Yudu Renee was glad he finally came to. Tien asked where they were. She explained they were in the abyss beneath the swamp of despair, and she wanted to know if he and Nar had conquered it. Taeyeon said they pretty much did. He credited Yunya for the most help, but she was still trapped inside her own nightmare as the despair grew. He knew he had to save everyone. Nara felt weird energy from the hamburger. Suddenly a light swallowed them, and they were sucked into Iljun's dream together. Uder and I was stunned this was happening again. She seriously wondered what Nara's true identity was after sensing something weird during the last test. Nara had not been affected by the virus. She was the only one who didn't suffer and even managed to control the power. Even without her memories, Nara was the first to beat the despair test and could enter mental worlds. Not even Udarinai could do that. Pay attention because you and I are diving into a weird flashback. Tien asked what was going on until a loud voice interrupted them. A man wanted to know who they were and why they were talking during a soccer match. Nara apologized and said they were leaving immediately. Tien realized they were in a stadium. He wondered how a hamburger could even feel despair, but Nar confirmed this was it. Taeyeon explained that Iljun was originally a human boy before some crazy circumstances turned him into hamburger meat. So this was a traumatic memory from the boy's past. Nar looked for the boy and saw him complaining to his coach. He was mad about being benched when the rest of the team played like trash. He even threatened to have his dad get the coach fired. Tien recognized this was definitely Iljun during his middle school days. He had heard the kid was training for soccer but gave it up. Suddenly, the coach grabbed his shoulder. The coach didn't care who his father was. He told the kid that a selfish player had no place on his team. Iljun was furious, and our two heroes realized exactly what kind of story this was. It was a classic trope that some people hate, but Nar thought it was actually pretty great. The team troublemaker grows as a person and becomes the legendary star player who leads everyone to a huge victory. Trust me, you are going to want to see how this ridiculous soccer game ends very soon. The kid asked how they knew him. Then he looked at Taeyeon and asked if he was that pervert from school. Alright, you and I are diving back into a world where reality is whatever the main character wants. There is a girl standing by that pervert, and Taeyeon can already tell this situation is about to get annoying. Taeyeon feels like he has finally beaten his despair. Since they are in Iljun's world, he can use his powers again and activate his time stop ability. Taeyeon is just happy the system is finally working again, and he missed it. Nara thinks the time stop is incredible, so Taeyeon decides to grab Iljun and teleport away immediately, but Nara tells him to hold on. She is worried about what happens to the burger if they just yank middle school Iljun out of this dream world. Taeyeon realizes that if he takes Iljun out now, the original version, and this one might not be able to coexist. Nara explains that Iljun needs to overcome his despair here to fix his real body, and Taeyeon admits that she is probably the smart one. He decides to just tweak Iljun's mindset and personality a bit to make him a better person and a better soccer player. They move back to watch the show from a safe distance, and Taeyeon finally lets time flow normally again. Color floods back into the world. Iljun wakes up instantly and drops to his knees, struggling to find the right words to say. He confesses that he really does not want to take over his father's company after all. He wants respect, but since he still admires his father, he chose to prove himself through soccer instead. Nara asks what is wrong with that, while Taeyeon explains he just gave the kid a mental adjustment to help him realize how much his teammates have really been struggling. Taeyeon realizes that all this time Iljun was just acting out like a typical delinquent. If the kid hadn't given up on his soccer dreams, he probably wouldn't have ended up so lost and confused. Taein thinks he should have noticed these feelings sooner, but hey, even a former villain deserves a clean slate and a fresh start now. They are going to help Iljun beat his despair fast. Now watch closely, this is where the magic kicks in and things speed up for our favorite soccer star. Iljun runs over to the coach, drops to his knees, and begs for forgiveness with tears in his eyes. The coach is stunned at first, but then he smiles and calls over another player so Iljun can finally join the game. The rest of the team still looks at Iljun with plenty of hostility because of how he acted before. The kid feels the pressure, but the match starts back up and one of the forwards takes off with the ball. Iljun signals that he is wide open, but his teammate just glares at him and keeps the ball for himself. It's a sad moment for Iljun. The forward doesn't even hesitate and takes a shot at the goal. A defender blocks the shot though. As the team scrambles for the rebound, Iljun suddenly bursts ahead of everyone else. He snatches the ball, dribbles right past a defender, and finds himself one-on-one with the goalkeeper. The other team is panicking now. Iljun looks like he is going to shoot, but then he suddenly passes it away. I know what you're thinking, finally, some actual teamwork. The forward grabs the pass and fires it into the net. The goalkeeper can't even touch it, and just like that, they score. The forward starts celebrating as the rest of the team rushes over. Someone ruffles the forward's hair, but he reaches out to shake Iljun's hand with a big smile, and the kid happily joins in. The coach is happy. Taein says everything turned out great, and their time there is finally up. Nara admits she doesn't know much about soccer, but that was actually pretty cool to watch. Taein thinks it was so fun he might just create a sports manhwa. Nara points out that the dark aura of despair is finally fading away. Taein notes that Iljun has finally conquered his inner demons. Nara thinks his inner world is actually pretty fun, so they decide to keep exploring. The inner world begins to fade. Iljun wakes up from the dream feeling like he just had the best sleep of his entire life. Nara asks if he's feeling alright, and Iljun happily confirms that he feels completely restored and ready to go. Taein says the next stop is the inner world of the celestial demon known as Cheon-ma. Nara is a bit worried since it looks like a scary martial arts universe, but Taein promises everything will be alright because he can protect her now. Nara blushes at that, and the two of them pass through the glowing barrier into Cheon-ma's inner world. Our hero had his eyes closed, but he suddenly snaps awake in this new place. He realizes he's in the martial arts world, but things are weird because Jo Yunya and Leo Laya are already there waiting. He is confused about why they are there and why they're wearing those specific clothes. Wait for it next time you and I will see things get even crazier as we return to the chapters 4 and 5 setting and discover what is hiding in that smoke. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into the chaos where Cheon-ma is losing his mind over his feminine voice. Everyone is staring in total shock, while Taein wonders why on earth she went back to that specific moment. Was this the peak of her despair? Cheon-ma is demanding to know what that jerk actually did to her? Taein figures if that is the case, he will just change her back. And Cheon-ma eagerly agrees to the deal. A bright green light fills the room once again, and just like that, his original body is finally restored. He is thrilled to have his masculine martial arts energy back, laughing because it is finally over, and Nar says they can all leave now. Taein notes the despair is gone, but Cheon-ma is already trying to pick a fight and calling his name. But wait back. In her female form, Cheon-ma proudly declares that she was once the greatest man alive. Now pay attention because the main character says readers actually prefer her this way, so she is staying a girl for now, despite all of her protests. Cheon-ma is furious, threatening to cut him down, so he will never be able to open his mouth again. Nara asks if she would really hate it since he already reached the top as a man and was bored. Maybe it would be a fun challenge to try becoming the strongest in the world starting as a woman. This time Cheon-ma replies that the whole idea is actually pretty interesting. Her massive internal yang energy has completely shifted into yin, changing her ki and potentially opening a path to reach a brand new martial realm for her to master. Nar is all for it, cheering Cheon-ma on as she embraces this weird new journey. Next up, Tae says it is time to help Layla, so the whole group dives into her inner world. Inside her mind, a crazed crown prince is waving a knife and claiming his wife is just his property. Layla tries to calm Garyon down, but he is not listening to her excuses about what others have said. He did not want duty or logic. He wanted her to choose him of her own completely free will. He rants about the favors he gave her family while she just used him and never said I love you. Layla cries, admitting she only cared about her relatives and pitying him for his twisted, possessive version of love. Garyon is stunned, but then he starts laughing with pure madness and despair shining in his eyes. You and I both see it now. He calls her the palace's greatest villain and a beautiful thorny flower. He decides she is a thorny flower that hurts his heart, and prepares to cut her away forever. As he lunges, Tae interrupts the drama and blasts the guy away with a single flick of his finger. The area clears and Taeyeon tells Layla to forget that piece of trash because they are finally going home. But Layla starts sobbing, her body overflowing with deep despair. She cries out that Garyon was truly pitiable because he was born with the grand destiny of an emperor, but cursed with an empty heart that could never be filled by anyone. Taeyeon is confused, but Layla insists that if she had truly loved him, none of this tragedy would happen. Nar realizes her despair comes from the crushing guilt she feels over her husband losing his life. Taeyeon thinks that is nonsense, while Cheon-ma walks up and calls her pathetic for being so weak. Taeyeon is shocked, but Cheon-ma asks if this miserable guilt is really what she truly wants. She hates this fragile attitude, saying that pitying someone who tried to kill you is just plain insulting. Layla tries to object, but Cheon-ma hands her a knife and tells her to prove she wants to live. She explains that the demonic path is for survivors who cling to life and achieve their goals no matter how worthless they feel. If you are already hanging on, then use that fighting spirit to swim through the darkness. Nara thinks that philosophy is incredibly cool, and Tien agrees that Cheon-ma is a total boss. Layla thanks them all with a genuine smile, and suddenly a warm light begins to wrap around them. Yuduru Rainey is impressed, watching everyone overcome their own personal despair one by one. Humans are full of surprises, especially Taeyeon, who finally stopped trying to carry every burden all by himself. This trial has made them stronger than ever, and Tae notes there is only one person left, Jo Yunya. Tae realizes that without her, he would have been completely lost in his own swamp of despair. He promises his friends will save her, but Tae wonders what exactly happened to her in this world. She looks like a girl abandoned on a lonely island, and he is desperate to know her story. So you and I are left with Cheon-ma sensing no other humans nearby as it ends. Alright, you and I are diving into a desert island mystery, where Nara questions the past, while the girl stares at Iljun hungrily. The hamburger yells that he is not food, which gives the poor girl a pretty big shock. Taeyeon says she must be scared, but it is okay. They are here to rescue her, and she wonders how they know her name. Our main character agrees, but the girl is sharp. She wants to know how she can be sure he is not lying to her. Cheon-ma laughs, because she is not easy to trick. The protagonist proves it by describing her brown-haired dad who lives in the city and misses her. That does the trick. Yunya gives him a massive hug, crying her eyes out while grabbing onto his shirt. Taeyeon wonders how she survived all alone and asks if she can explain how she ended up on this island. Yunya explains she was traveling with her father. Back then, her only dream was to become a legendary pirate captain. Then her father took her on a voyage and taught her to sail, but a massive storm hit and put the boat in serious danger. Her father told her to stay safe inside the cabin and not to come out. Now watch closely. She really wanted to be a cool pirate captain like her dad, but the boat crashed and she tumbled straight into the deep, dark sea. She screamed for her dad, but he could not hear her over the waves as the boat drifted far, far away. She blacked out and woke up here. On that first day, she did nothing but cry the whole time. When night fell, it got freezing cold. She honestly thought she was going to lose her life right then. But she could not give up knowing her parents would be heartbroken. She believed her dad would find her eventually. She remembered survival videos she watched as a kid. Tae jokes about her having way too many childhood dreams. So Yunya built herself a shelter. She found fresh water, started a fire, and even figured out how to find food. She got hurt and sick sometimes, but she stayed tough because she knew her father was out there looking for her. Layla starts tearing up, saying she is so proud of how brave the little girl was during such a hard time. Cheon-ma is impressed by her survival skills. Finally, Yunya asks the big question, can she see her father now? Tien promises they will take her to him right away. Yunya tells them to wait while she goes to grab her things. Tien wonders if this girl survived alone and asks himself what he was doing at her age. Probably just being a spoiled kid. Tien says it is time to go, then notices her holding something special. Una says it is the most beautiful shell she found and she wants to give it to her father to show him she is safe. Tien knows her dad will love it. Nara promises that they will teleport right to where her father is. Tae starts the mass teleportation skill and a bright light completely wraps around the entire group. Yunya finally reunites with her parents. It turns out a passing fishing boat had saved the poor girl. In reality, it took a lot longer to find her father, and she actually lost that precious seashell along the way. If this had been real life, her fate might have been darker, but the important thing is they all beat despair together. And just like that, we are back in reality, but the greeting is not what you would expect. She punches him instantly. She asks why his pervy face is the first thing she sees. Where did that sweet girl go? Yunya stands up with a major headache, feeling like she just woke up from a really bizarre dream. Udini notes that they have conquered the despair. Tyen thanks her for keeping them safe inside her barrier this whole time. But the break is over. It is time to head back to the home of despair and get ready for battle. For the sake of the entire universe, stopping these guys is the only right thing to do. Yud Rainey wants to see their justice, so she lifts the barrier from the water to return them to the cliff. Muramu can't believe it. Despair should not be that easy to overcome. The team finally steps out of the barrier. Tay goes all out, activating his third stage of ascension along with the Necklace of Wrath. He charges at the constellation, hitting it with a massive berserker's fist. It is time to end this once and for all. The constellation stumbles back confused since it does not even have a physical form to hit. Tay does not stop. He follows up with a brutal knee strike using his ascendant berserker's kick. He laughs, saying how refreshing it feels. He has really missed the feeling of a good fight. Muramu panics and calls out to the constellation of justice, wondering how this could possibly be happening. Without divine help, a normal human should not be able to overcome the authority of a zodiac. So what do you and I take from this? Even a god's power is no match for true human teamwork. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where villains find human power to be insanely delicious. Muramu charges Tien energy swirling around her before she slams a heavy palm strike right into his chest. Our hero is thrown across the room as Muramu scoffs that her swamp of despair is just getting started. She's determined to break him using the massive gap in their raw power. The system triggers his imitating fist skill, mocking her ideas about power. If a little power gap could make him despair, he would have given up on this journey a long time ago. Tay launches a blazing meteor fist, but Muramu casually blocks the strike with her strange, fluid-like, defensive technique. She mocks him, claiming it's totally useless to expect a brute force attack like that to work. Tien resists, but Nara calls out to remind him that since it's raining and they are surrounded by water, his fire attacks are at a serious disadvantage. Tay realizes she's right. The Amulet of Wrath had him completely stuck on using fire for everything. Now pay attention here, she interrupts, to say he has no luxury for distractions before dropping a bubble of despair into his head. Is she planting hopelessness directly into his brain? Tay screams while fighting to break free, barely managing to spark his electric discharge skill to counter her mental attack. He survived by mastering his mind and channeling his inner rage with the legendary power of Ascension. He follows Nara's lead and switches to electricity, daring Muramu to see if she can block the strike or if she'll just end up burned by his lightning. Then Uni stops the fight. She's been watching and wonders why Tay keeps bravely explaining every single one of his actions to his opponent. The key is to neutralize enemies in totally unpredictable ways. Tien jokes that if they didn't talk, readers would finish the entire chapter in less than half the usual time. To keep the fans happy, they add dialogue while he waits for the perfect moment to reveal his hand. Yunya has no clue what he means, but Tyen charges forward with an electric punch to clear the water. Muramu feels her defense starting to crumble, yet she continues to push her powers to the absolute limit. Suddenly, strange hands reach out and grab the protagonist's feet. Muramu smirks, reminding him that it's useless to think he could ever defeat her in her own watery domain. Our hero unleashes a massive burst of electricity using his discharge skill to fry the traps and break himself free. Tien curses as the water reforms while Muramu tells him to just stop resisting and embrace the devastating despair. Tay snaps back that she isn't the one who will break them. Suddenly, a massive energy dragon roars to life as he unleashes the demonic dragon martial technique. Layla joins in with dozens of knife slashes, stopping right by our hero. You and I can see it now, thanks to her. They've actually overcome despair and grown even stronger. Muramu starts spiraling out of control, repeating that this is impossible as pure hopelessness begins to overwhelm her. Tuin explains this is what happens when a villain acts like a madman by just repeating phrases while Lele happily announces she's finally overcome her deep despair. Our hero points out she's wrong, but Muramu admits that while using her original power on mere humans seems impossible, she has absolutely no choice left. The mark of Virgo appears on her thigh. Yudu warns that this is dangerous since it's the supreme power belonging to the 12 houses of the zodiac. Muramu transforms into her avatar form, opening her eyes while clad in terrifying godlike armor. She repeats that she's now using the dangerous power of the houses. This traces back to the War of Constellations, the first and last cosmic clash since the very beginning of time. The result was so devastating that the King of Constellations formed a council to ban all future battles. These constellations emerged to protect universal order. They exist in the image of his creations as incarnations, but maintaining that order requires an immense amount of power. The 12 strongest were chosen as the zodiac granted the ability to unlock the true form of their constellation. Yorinai continues the explanation. We are finally seeing the one who governs despair in the universe, the true form of Muramu. You and I just witnessed a goddess descend, and I'm not gonna lie, this fight is about to get insane. Alright, you and I are about to see if our hero can punch through this celestial demon palm strike. Muramu claimed it was impossible to reach her, insisting that despair was the most intense experience a living soul could ever face. She wondered why he even bothered resisting, since falling into a deep gloom was a beautiful privilege that all living creatures shared. Tay activated his planet-destroying move while shouting the powerful constellation name. He declared he would blow up Muramu and the whole planet. Murmuru asked if he was sure, since that would blast his own friend away. Cheonma shouted that he did not care and told him to explode it. Our main character knew that even as the celestial demon, if he was caught, in that he would not escape unharmed. Muramu just laughed at his expression, calling his mix of despair and effort completely useless in the end. She finally understood why other constellations liked humans, seeing a mere mortal somehow enduring the weight of pure, unadulterated despair. Iljin yelled that she was being a coward and threw 2 literal pickles at her for being so arrogant. Now watch this, she is thanked for the snacks but stays confused about who he is. Iljin told her to remember him because even if he looked like a hamburger, now his name was Kim Ilyin, the man who stole her talent. Layla used her malice ability to free the celestial demon, while Yunya also charged forward bravely. Muramu just turned around, asking how anyone could be so foolish as to think they were actual obstacles. The waters of despair trapped the girls too. Nar noted this was not the plan as Tay screamed for them. Muramu said resistance was meaningless, but suddenly a cut appeared on her face because someone had actually managed to wound her. Layla had managed to get past her defenses with a knife. Muramu snatched the knife away, shocked to see the gastronomy constellation artifact in the hands of a mere human girl, and demanded to know how she had acquired it. Furious at her audacity, she increased the crushing pressure on all 3 of them at once. This just made Tay even angrier as he pushed forward, shouting that nothing was impossible. Nar begged Udoranai for help before they died, but she refused because fighting between constellations was strictly against the rules. Nara pleaded for justice, asking the constellation if this unfair situation was really what she stood for. The Hamburger Man questioned if this scale of fairness made sense, arguing that releasing them was the only right thing to do. Watch carefully as Udoranai pulls out her scales while Tien advances with his sword. He tried to slash her, but Murumuru warned him that he could never cut down his own companions with his hands. Tay cursed at her and demanded they fight fairly one by one. She asked why he would want that, and used a water attack, saying he had already done his very best. She thanked him for overcoming the test, since gaining hope just allowed her to deliver an even deeper, more crushing despair. Na dropped to his knees while Muramu thanked him for the meal, but then she noticed the main character was actually smiling while a cut appeared on her hand. Muramu was confused, but Tien explained he had been tired since the last chapter, yet things strangely felt quite easy now. He was convinced the flow of the story was on their side, calling it the true spirit of the webtoons. Muramu saw her friends breaking free and yelled for Yudraini, who suddenly appeared in full golden armor. Muramu asked if she had gone insane for attacking a fellow member of the 12 Zodiacs. Ilgan knew Libra would eventually side with them, while Muramu argued that the universal order should never side with such worthless lives as these. But Udarinai calmly stated that she was not weighing their lives. She was acting on what was right, measuring only the justice of the moment. Libra and Ilyan were in total agreement. So what do you and I make of this? Justice always finds a way.